Hello everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm here today with a fabulous celebrity in the agile world. This is Roman Pichler. Good afternoon, Roman. How are you doing?
Hello, Kenneth. I'm well. How are you?
I am absolutely fantastic. It's a great day. It's raining, but that's typical. You know, it always rains here in the UK, right? You're not from the UK though, right? Where are you from originally?
Originally, Munich, Germany.
Oh, very nice. I've never been to. Is it nice in Munich? Is it nice?
It used to be.
Oh,
So I've just come from Buckinghamshire, where I'm based now. So
excellent.
yes,
And I understand, Roman, you're an author. Is that right? Have you written a book?
yes, that's right. Yes,
Can you tell us a bit about the book?
it's called Agile Product Management with Scrum, and it tries to provide advice on how to be a good product owner and what's important in terms of the practices and techniques.
Great. Can we talk a bit about product owners now? Is that good?
Yes, we can.
Cool. What I'm always interested, what I always get asked, Roman, is what actually makes a good product owner? What does a good product owner look like?
What makes a good product owner? I think that depends a little bit on the product. So generally, I would say somebody who has a vision of where to take a product, has an interest in creating or developing a product, somebody who cares about the users and their needs, somebody who is willing and able to act as a team player and collaborate, and somebody who, well, is not afraid and at the same time empowered to own the product and facilitate the right decisions, and if no consensus can be reached, to make those decisions.
Do you think they have to be are they the customer or do they just represent the customer? What do you think?
Yeah, again, it sort of depends a little bit on the context and their product. If it's a bespoke product, a custom developed product, it could be the customer. Otherwise, it's more likely to be a product manager or business analyst or marketeer, sometimes even a project manager.
Ah, right, the project manager. So is it an exact switch? If I was a project manager, could I be a product owner, do you think?
Yes, you could be, but I think your job would change, your job role would change. You're no longer focused on delivering, turning a requirement specification into a successful product. It's now really also figuring out what the product should look like and do, and which user needs should be addressed and how to best address them. So it's more focusing on the product rather than the project itself.
Yeah, it's interesting because some of the questions I get asked quite a lot, people tend to get mixed up. They think that product owner, product manager, project manager, they tend to get all the words mixed up. So can you tell us what would make a really good product owner as opposed to a really good project manager? What would the difference be?
So a product owner should, in my mind, own the product, literally own the product, hence the name, usually on behalf of a company. And if you think about somebody who works as a product owner on a brand new product, then I would suggest that the individual very much acts like an intrapreneur. So uses the product to essentially create a new revenue stream, a new business, or extend an existing business. And as the product grows and becomes more feature-rich, the product owner role changes. But certainly in a Scrum context where the product owner role originated, the idea would be there's still one overall product owner who acts like the general manager of the product and makes sure that the product moves in the right direction and that it stays consistent. There's still a great user experience, and it doesn't turn into a feature soup, a loose collection of individual features and pieces of functionality.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the organizations that I work with, they don't really have a position right now for product owner. Is that similar to what you see? Doesn't exist at the moment.
Yes, so I think organizations that develop commercial software products often have, in my experience, a product manager role. And I think in some respects the product owner is similar to the product manager, but there are other elements that differ, that are different, and I think it's important to be clear on those differences.
Cool. And one of the artifacts in Scrum that obviously the product owner spends a lot of that time with is the product backlog, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just checking. That's cool. What do you think? What does a good product backlog look like? What does a good product backlog look like?
A good product backlog. I think a good product backlog is concise. So that's sort of in a way the one property that comes to my mind.
What you mean? It's short. There's nothing in it.
It's focused. It's
Okay.
concise, and the various ways to achieve conciseness, focus. Um, a standard technique is to detail it appropriately, which means you have to order or prioritize your product backlog, and then make sure that the items that are lower in your backlog have a lower priority, are rather coarse-grained and sketchy. Yeah? So I think a good product backlog should describe the product at a coarse-grained level, paint the big picture, but only detail those pieces that are coming up in the near future.
Ah, good. And you can use user stories, right? Can you use user stories?
Oh yes, you can use user stories. User stories are a great technique to capture functionality, or to capture how users interact with the product, with product functionality. It's probably not enough. You probably need other techniques in addition to user stories.
Does the product owner write all the user stories usually?
Not necessarily. So Scrum is very flexible when it comes to the precise duties of the product owner. Or yes, quite flexible, fairly generic. So I find it helpful when the product owner is involved in stocking the product backlog and writing user stories, and obviously changing the product backlog, managing, grooming the product backlog. But the product owner doesn't necessarily have to write every single tiny weeny user story. Very much depends on the collaboration, the relationship between the product owner and the team. How much the product owner trusts the team, and how much guidance the team at the same time requires from the product owner.
So the team sometimes plays planning poker, right?
Planning poker? Yes,
Yeah.
You can play planning poker. Have you played planning poker, Kenneth?
I love it. It's my favorite estimation game. Would you, would the product owner be there for that? Can he or she play that too?
Well, the product owner should be present when planning poker is played, I would suggest. As we've just discussed, that many of the product backlog items are likely to be sketchy.
Right.
And by the way, I find that's a common mistake that product owners make. That the high priority, the top items are too big, and the low priority items are too detailed. So it's sort of medium level of granularity all the way, rather than small, nice, detailed items at the top.
Sure.
And then the coarse-grained ones further down. Now, if you have to estimate coarse-grained items as a team, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to clearly understand what they mean. So it's good to have the product owner there and have a brief discussion about one of the lower priority, bigger items.
Yeah, I think it's essential, because the product owner really has to clarify things if the team screws up, if they misunderstand what I mean or whatever. I think it's a real core part of the job. And you mentioned something else earlier, which was something called grooming the product backlog. Can you just explain what that means to the audience? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so grooming is just another term. Product backlog grooming is just another way of saying managing the product backlog.
We have to be careful in the UK. Grooming has a whole new meaning in the UK, which we won't go into right now. But just explain to it in Scrum terms.
It's got different interpretations or connotations. Yeah. So in a Scrum sense, getting confused here.
That's okay.
In a Scrum sense, the product backlog needs changing, needs adapting, needs adjusting, and the reason for that is that at the beginning of a cycle, at the beginning of a sprint, we make assumptions. We have a goal, and then at the end of the cycle, we show what we've developed, which usually is a product increment to the right people, stakeholders.
Sure.
Those stakeholders may include users, as you probably know. Do you, Kenneth? Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
Right, brilliant. So, and their feedback then has to be analyzed and has to be integrated into the product backlog.
Sure.
So those may be smaller changes or bigger changes. Maybe the user interface design turned out to be wrong. Then that part of the product backlog will have to be essentially recreated, restocked.
Sure.
So that's one part of it. The other part of it is getting ready for the next cycle, the next sprint, and making sure that enough small, detailed, high-priority items are actually available.
Ah, right,
so
okay.
Small, nice, detailed, fine-grained user stories with acceptance criteria have been written.
Sure.
That's, again, part of product backlog grooming. And personally, I also play the planning poker as part of the product backlog grooming workshop.
Sure, I love planning poker. And how often does the team need to do this whole grooming thing? In your experience, how long does the team spend doing that in a typical sprint?
I think that depends very much on how innovative the product is, how much uncertainty there is in what you do to your product.
Sure.
And it's also likely it also depends on the feedback that the team receives.
Sure.
You know, sometimes the feedback is just really allows the team just to make smaller fine-grained adjustments.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about bigger changes, and those bigger changes require more time.
Sure.
But I think typically in a 2-week cycle, in a 2-week sprint, a couple of hours or so should be enough.
Cool.
Yeah, as a rough guidance.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much, Roman. We've kind of run out of time, but this has been really good. And I thought it would be nice if we kind of ended with a song.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just joking.
What a shame.
It was a little joke there, just pulling out.
No, I'm so glad. I'm a really bad singer.
Oh, no, me too.
Yes.
Me too.
Are you?
Terrible, yeah.
You don't look it.
No, I'm bad.
You look like a great showman.
No, I'm actually very shy.
I see.
I don't get out much. I'm very shy. Anyway, it's been great to see you, Roman. Thank you so much for coming in.
It was an honor. Thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad. I'll enjoy it too. Thank you very much, and thank you to all you guys for watching. We'll see you again soon. From Roman and I, goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye. Turn it off now. Thank you.